Hi, Loise.
Hi, Perimeter. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you for accepting the invite to do the podcast with us. I'm really happy and honored actually to have you because I know that you worked at List, you worked at Gabriel Lippmann before it became List. But I was just looking at your LinkedIn profile and I spoke to others about you as well. You have had a wonderful career path since then. But let's begin our conversation.
Right.
In Gabriel Lippmann, what was your research about? What was your work, actually?
So my journey at Gabriel Lippmann began in 2012. The first time I ever came to Luxembourg for work. I was actually before that working in an institution in Kenya, and here I saw a job they're advertising. They were looking for someone to do with radiative transfer models. They were using satellite data. And I was among actually the pioneers because when I was at the University of Twente, I was mentored by professor who is really one of the founding fathers of radiative transfer models, Dr. Wouter Verhoef.
In Kenya?
In the Netherlands.
In the Netherlands, okay, where you came. Okay.
Yeah, where I did my Masters of Science.
Right.
So after that, I immediately went to Kenya. And luckily, there was this open position in List, and they were looking for somebody with my profile. I applied, I got, and that was the first time I walked into Gabriel Lippmann in the remote sensing team. So it was a very small team. From there, I knew Dr. Martin Sheff because he was also had been a doctor at the University of Twente. And we were making the team. There was Professor Juderhoven, and it was very nice. So when I came, the first project I was supposed to do, they were monitoring forest in Belgium. And there they were trying to run this model that could really predict the forest health.
Right, okay.
Yes, yeah. And they wanted to use, instead of statistical models, they wanted to use radiative transfer models. And that is where I came in.
What is that?
So radiative transfer model in remote sensing is really, you have to account, because remote sensing is about the transfer of energy from the time it's captured by the satellite to when it reaches the ground. So when you're using radiative transfer model, you really account for anything that will interfere with this light until it arrives to what is being observed. And you can account for all interferences, and ideally it uses the physical concept of transfer of energy, of light. So this is what I was doing, and it is more accurate than statistical. You have to make less assumptions, and for small ecosystems it works relatively very well.
Yeah. So that was your work about in Gabriel Lippmann?
In the beginning, it was all about monitoring forest health in a certain forest in Belgium. I cannot remember the name exactly. Yes, that was it.
And then you were right there when it became List.
This was a journey that I see it transform. Especially, I remember the last year, when the following year they were going to turn into Gabriel Lippmann.
Yeah.
So we had this always, the Christmas parties, the end of year parties.
Yeah.
And that time we were being given these mugs where it was written Gabriel Lippmann. I have the mug to date, written Gabriel Lippmann. It was such an privilege for me.
Yeah.
And when it was turning into List, so I was able to see all the transformation from how there was the merge between Gabriel Lippmann and Tudor. And it was just nice. And how things were changing. Because back then is when the whole point that I also understood in this transformation, nobody sees this, but Dr. Hoffman, he was trying to bring this idea of how scientists, we can valorize our ideas.
Lucien Hoffman.
Yes, that is what I mean. So he was introducing gradually this concept of valorization. And I think that was the birthplace of me and my vision today. Because I realized we cannot only just be scientists sitting on the desk. We have all this knowledge that we can share with the industry, you see.
Yeah.
So it was an amazing phase for me. And I was privileged to be there to see all this.
I remember when I was talking to you just before, we had a chat, and you said, "Oh, I have a story to tell." I'm so excited. I want to know. So like you were saying, so that was really sort of the birthplace for you to have the sort of technology transfer, because that is the DNA of List, isn't it? And now how that actually shaped your story as well somehow.
So down the line, so for the next 4 years when it had transformed to LIST, I underwent into where I was doing my PhD research work. And this is where I was monitoring evapotranspiration in wetlands. Very nice research. But during this time, I realized that most researchers, especially when you're almost coming to the end of your contract, there's this panic that comes into you like, what next? What next? But for me, I was so calm because I knew I had gained all the knowledge and all the resources I needed to go out there and turn all the science and that I had learned into something that can benefit the society, you see. So when I left LIST after my PhD research work, I went into the industry. I started working in startups where I was offering my knowledge on Earth observations as a consultant, as a senior data scientist. But then while working my own idea in my head, I needed to gain momentum, understand how startups work, understand how entrepreneurs work. And that gradually built onto my portfolio of what I'm selling today. And it is such a privilege.
So what are you selling today?
Today what we are doing is we realize, first, let me take you a step back.
Yeah.
We're in Luxembourg. Luxembourg is the land of fund industry, you see. But then suddenly at the end of 2020, 2021, suddenly there was this idea of sustainable investing. You know what? This is all about, like, the people in finance have to divert their capital flows in a way that it protects the environment.
ESG.
So, ESG in terms of ESG.
Yeah, the buzzword was ESG.
That was the buzzword. But in all, I can tell you I attended more than 100 seminars within the finance industry just to understand how they think, what drives them, and to see what is the pain point here. And there, the main topic they all talked about was data. It was not easy because if you try to be sustainable, to invest sustainably, you need data to drive your decisions. But they really lacked this. And there again is when the eureka moment clicked in, like, okay, everybody is crying about data because imagine an asset manager has assets all over America, Africa, everywhere. But how are they getting the ground information, especially when it's related to physical, environmental aspects? And that is where the idea came in. Like, I saw the opportunity, like, how can we better tailor all these satellite-based data and technology to really make it digestible by people in finance? Because they get maps, because someone in finance, honestly, if he's doing risk assessment, they don't need a map. They need a figure that they will plug into their risk models, you see? So that is where we understand there was a gap, and that was the birth of Metricsat. So what Metricsat is doing, we are providing environmental metrics and KPIs to financial institutions, like plug and play at asset level. And this is what we build on today.
Tell me I'm a 5-year-old.
Okay.
So for example, when you're saying that it's providing environmental data to the fund industry, yeah. So give me an example, a concrete example.
For example, if someone in finance has, let's say they are investing in real estate, you see, for them real estate is an asset class. And for this, they need to understand what are the environmental risks associated with this asset. It could be commercial building or residential or any other kind of infrastructure.
Yeah.
So what we are doing is we let the user come onto the platform. They have to onboard their asset on the platform. That is all they need to do. On our side, we gather all kinds of data that is relevant for them to come up with all these risk metrics, and we generate the KPIs for them on the platform in real time.
I see. It's recording, but I want to say no. There's no problem. No. This is also, I was going to come to that. I mean, this is the first time that I have a third person in the studio. It's Loise's son, whose name is Jeremy, and that is, I'm going to come to that also. Like, you're a mother, you're a founder, you're an entrepreneur. I mean, hats off to you. But okay, so I understand now, first of all, the mechanism. But when you said, I mean, a lot of people have these eureka moments, right?
Yes.
I mean, even I do sometimes. Yeah. But from there to having the courage, to having the grit, you need courage, you need grit, you need capital, you need support. I mean, so you had that eureka moment in those seminars. Tell me how you went from there to what? Now it has been, 4 or 5 years
Absolutely.
that the company is running?
Yes, yeah. The whole entrepreneurship journey has been almost 5 years. Yeah, actually, you're accurate. Oh my goodness. That has been a long time. I'm not going to sit here and tell you like trying to be an entrepreneur is easy. It is a risk you're taking on your family, on yourself, on your finances, on your friendship, on your relationships,
Yeah.
But what really kept me going and on the rails is the fact that I knew the idea was solid. I knew I had the knowledge for it. I was not outsourcing the knowledge to build the solution. It was in-house. So that kept me going. And the more I learned more, the more I met people and I talked to all potential customers, it really validated what I was talking about. I could really well understand the pain point. And the more I went into it, every day I kept telling myself, if I give up today, it will be like a loss because I've gone into in too deep to go back. So I had to keep pushing myself every day. And let me tell you the truth. I think when you work on something, when you keep going, it gets better. You build more confidence. You are able to structure everything very well. And now I see it. And then luckily down the line, I met my co-founder. He's called Guido Bikizao. So Guido Bikizao works in the finance industry world. He worked for European Investment Bank for quite a long time. And for him, because he was in portfolio management, he really, in a click of sound, understood the pain point I was talking about. And he could give me use cases and he could be able to see how we could tailor the solution from a user perspective. And for us, imagine creating a company with in-house experience and knowledge. That was fantastic. And from there, we've just kept growing and things are just falling into place. So I think for me, when I say about this entrepreneurship, as much as it has been a very challenging journey, risky, I've lost some things, I've gained some things, but it's a beautiful thing. And I am really, really grateful that I have arrived where I am today. And if I can do it, anybody can do it.
I'm so proud of you. Just listening to you, it's amazing. So coming back to your journey within LIS,
Okay.
If I asked you if there was a standout moment, if something that a project that was particularly rewarding, what would that be?
For me, when I was in LIS, so again, when I was doing my research, my PhD research, the thing is, it is only in LIS where me as a remote sensor Earth observation, LIS is a fantastic place. You have access to resources, you have access to all, they facilitate you to bring your research to life. Because imagine as a remote sensor, there was this time we were doing field campaigns. We had airborne campaigns where the plane was collecting airborne data. At the same time, because within LIS, there's this mobile weather station. At the same time, while we are collecting data airborne, the mobile weather station, it's being run by Jungen and I think that team, they were on site.
Right.
We had set out our ground control points. Like, this is a remote sensor's dream. Like, while running your airborne data, there might be satellite passing and you have ground data to validate. For me, that was just fantastic. And I thank God because I was able to learn a lot in my field in list. I was able to be facilitated to go to conferences and fields to really see where the eddy covariance towers are. This is not something everybody experiences every day.
Yeah.
And I am truly, truly in awe of LIST. I am here today. I must say, I am very grateful to LIST.
I mean, I'm sure that LIST was enriched by your presence as well. I'll come back. I'm going to go back to your journey now, your personal journey. Imagine somebody is listening to you, especially a girl. Last week I had a researcher, Magdalena, and she spoke to us about her journey, how she came from Poland and microbiology theme, and she went on to different countries, and you're the trajectory is again wonderful, so bold, and so imagine somebody is listening to you, a girl, a woman. I want to ask you, I don't know if it's so your son and my daughter, they're of the same age. So I'm thinking we probably are of similar age as well. I mean, so I'm in my 40s. So when you started this concept, was it too late for you? Did you get any sort of obstacle in your path saying that, okay, you're too late for this? This ship has sailed.
I think I did this at the right time. If I had waited a little bit longer, maybe I would have run out of time.
Yeah.
I feel it was the right time. Now, when I look back, if you tell me to do what I did 3 years ago, I would not do it.
Really?
I was just at the right place at the right time. And I had the great, my son Jeremy had grown and he could be able to take care of himself a little bit more and I could focus on this. So it was really an ideal time. Did I lose some stuff? Yes. Maybe I could have expanded the family. I don't know, but that's a topic for another day. But all in all, I think as a girl child, as women, it's a little bit different for us, because when I wake up in the morning to go and grind and do what I have to do, it's not just about me. It's about the people I bring along who depend on me on one way or another, and like maybe the other gender where for them, you just show up. It is a little bit hard. It takes a lot of planning, but I think society, especially in Luxembourg, is really enabling, and this has made it possible. And if I can do it as a woman in a foreign land that embraced me, anybody can do it.
That was one of my questions also. I mean, how easy or how difficult was it? I mean, we talk about Luxembourg as being this sort of startup nation, right? So how easy or how difficult was it to go from the idea to the creation of your company?
I can tell you so. I am among one of these people who I have not been fortunate enough to be enrolled in these accelerator programs.
Right.
So bringing all this idea to life was, I can say 70% on initiative. But again, I am thankful to initiatives like The Loft, where they bring you and you can meet, the industry, because they're not an authoritative figure when it comes to green fintech.
Yes.
And for this, the exposure has been wonderful. And it is all about networking. This they have facilitated in a nice way. But also there's Luxembourg Startup Association. It's doing a fantastic job because there you can be helped in all pertaining companies. You can talk to VCs. It's not easy to be in other countries and talk to like the creme de la creme VCs.
That's very true here in Luxembourg, yes.
In Luxembourg, you have access to the decision maker.
Yes.
It makes it easy. You have access to the public institutions. It really is a conducive place for a startup.
Yeah.
If you really tap into the resources, they are really there. So you just have to find out where they are, and they really are campaigning about it. So it is very welcoming to outside companies. So I love this ecosystem. to really start a company as a startup. They guide you, they hold your hand as you until, you can be able to fly. I like it about that.
So what's next?
What's next? What is next is we want to be the center of excellence for environmental risk assessment. And we want Luxembourg to be the home of this venture so that one day we'll stand and tell the world it all happened here in the home of sustainable finance.
We do have a time constraint, and what we are doing with this series is that we are ending our episodes with these 3 questions. First of all is there a favorite list innovation that you would want to mention that comes to your mind?
Oh, for me, it is the mobile weather station.
Yes.
I think as a remote sensor, nobody appreciates it. It is an old idea, but for me, it really, I like the idea where they can go in urban places, collect all this air quality data. It is not a given. This is something that can build and train all other remote sensing models. So it is, for me, it is the most fantastic innovation of this. Being able to have these portable weather stations that measuring air qualities.
Excellent. And if I ask you if there's an ex-colleague or a teammate that you would want to mention?
Absolutely. I give my gratitude to Dr. Kanishka Malik. He was my mentor. He was my supervisor. He taught me things I never knew I would learn. He gave me the confidence. And his patience, I can say,
I know.
He's one of the most fantastic people I've ever worked with.
Very humble.
Very humble. It was a privilege to work with him. But also, I would really like to, again, the birthplace of my vision today was, even though Dr. Lucien Hoffman was not my supervisor or my colleague, he was the boss, he inspired me to be where I am today, to be able to valorize the science I have learned into something that can be used by the industry.
Excellent. And last but not least, do you have a book or a podcast that you would like to recommend to our listeners?
This is a good one. Currently, the podcast I spend time listening is to, I don't know if you know it, The CEO's Diary. But
yes. You are the first, okay, I have to say this. You are the first guest that is actually recommending a podcast. Everyone else spoke of books, which I understand, of course, but
time constraint of a book,
yes,
I can do other things by listening.
Yes.
I like Steve Butler's The CEO's Diary.
Yes.
Simply because he brings all these people from walks of life with a lot of experience and you can learn a lot. It is real life and he's talking to real people with real experiences.
Yes. Excellent. Maybe you'll be a guest there. Who knows? One day.
Who knows the limit?
Steve Bartlett, if you're listening, if you're watching this, please.
Yes.
Well,
next guest.
Thank you, Loise. Thank you so much for being here. And I really hope that, you have all your dreams come true for the future for Metricsat. And I wish to continue our conversation some other time as well. And thank you to Jeremy. Where is he? There he is, for being such a good kid in the studio.
Thank you so much for having me, and it was such a privilege to have this opportunity.
Oh, thank you so much, Loise.